In the late spring of 2157, humanity's deep space monitoring stations picked up unusual energy signatures at the edge of our solar system. Within hours, massive ships emerged from what appeared to be tiers in space itself, vessels larger than anything humans had ever built with technology beyond our understanding. They called themselves the Kang, rulers of the stars for over 10,000 years. Their delegation arrived on Earth 3 days later, landing in an open field outside the United Nations headquarters. The aliens stood nearly 7 feet tall, their skin a pale blue that seemed to shimmer under Earth's sunlight. "Your world now belongs to the Kang Empire," announced their leader, a decorated commander named Lee. His voice, translated through advanced technology, echoed across global broadcasts. 10,000 worlds before you have joined our domain. Resistance has proven unnecessary. World leaders gathered in emergency sessions. Military advisors pushed for immediate action. But what chance did Earth's weapons have against ships that could tear holes in space? The UN Security Council voted for diplomacy, hoping to buy time. "We welcome peaceful exchange with the Kang Empire," said the UN Secretary General, choosing his words carefully. "Earth has much to offer as a partner rather than a subject. Commander," Lee's laughter chilled everyone present. "Partnership, your species has barely left its cradle. The terms are simple. Accept imperial rule or face cleansing. You have 3 Earth days to decide." Behind closed doors, the world's powers made 2 decisions. Publicly, they would negotiate terms of surrender. Privately, they would initiate Operation Leviathan, humanity's greatest gamble. The surrender ceremony was broadcast worldwide. Earth formally accepted status as a vassal world of the Kang Empire. Imperial administrators arrived, establishing outposts across the planet. They demanded resources, technology, and soon, human workers for off-world operations. Most people adapted to the new reality. The Kang weren't cruel masters, just coldly efficient. They brought advancements in medicine and energy production. Many humans even found imperial rule preferable to past Earth governments. But the Kang didn't respect boundaries. When protests erupted in Seoul against worker deportations, the imperial response was swift and terrible. A precision orbital strike reduced half the city to ash, killing millions, including the family of Admiral Park Sun-mi, commander of Earth's now disbanded Pacific Fleet. "Let this serve as education," announced Imperial Governor Han. The Empire's generosity has limits. What the Kang didn't realize was that Operation Leviathan had already begun. Deep within Jupiter's stormy atmosphere, hidden from imperial sensors, engineers from nations that once stood as enemies now worked side by side. They built in secret, stealing moments while managing imperial mining operations in the asteroid belt. Park had lost everything in Seoul. The UN Security Council, now operating as an underground resistance, unanimously selected her to command humanity's secret weapon, the UES Nemesis. "Is it true what they say about this ship?" Park asked Chief Engineer Ryu as they toured the nearly completed vessel, hidden within a massive construction bay inside Jupiter. Ryu nodded, pride evident despite his exhaustion. "The Nemesis incorporates everything we've secretly learned from Kang technology, but with human innovation they never anticipated. Their shields operate on predictable energy patterns. Ours adapt and learn. Their weapons are powerful but fixed. Ours reconfigure based on target vulnerabilities. The most revolutionary advancement sat at the heart of the Supercarrier, a quantum entanglement drive that could fold space without the massive energy signatures the Kang relied upon. It would make the Nemesis nearly untraceable. The Kang believe their technology is perfect because it hasn't been challenged in millennia," explained Ryu. "They've forgotten how to innovate." Park walked the half-finished corridors, watching as crews installed systems that represented the combined genius of human civilization. Scientists who once competed now collaborated. Former enemies shared knowledge freely. The Nemesis wasn't just a warship, it was humanity's unified response to tyranny. "How long until completion?" Park asked, studying holographic readouts of weapon systems beyond anything Earth had possessed before the invasion. 8 months if we maintain current pace, Ryu replied. But the Kang are increasing worker deportations. Our people are disappearing to mines and factories across their empire. We're losing our best minds each week. That night, Park stood alone by the observation deck, Jupiter's swirling storms visible through reinforced windows. In her hand, she held a small photograph, her daughter's 10th birthday just 3 weeks before the soul strike. The last photo they'd ever take together. "We need more time," she whispered to the emptiness of space. But time was the one resource humanity didn't have. When news arrived that the Kang planned to establish a permanent military headquarters on Earth, Park knew the window for action was closing. Imperial architects had already selected the location, the ruins of Seoul, a deliberate message to anyone considering resistance. "We launch in 3 months," Park announced to the command staff the next morning. Ready or not, engineers worked around the clock. Systems were installed before testing was complete. Weapons came online even as their housing was being finished. The Nemesis took shape, sleek, deadly, and unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. As the Kang prepared to break ground on their headquarters, Admiral Park stood on the bridge of humanity's first and only supercarrier, watching as the final systems came online. "For 10,000 years they've ruled without challenge," she told her crew. "That ends today." 5 years had passed since the Kang Empire claimed Earth as their newest conquest. On the surface, humans appeared to accept their place as just another subject species in the vast galactic empire. Imperial administrators walked confidently through human cities, barely glancing at the natives they considered hardly worth noticing. "Another productive quarter," announced Governor Han during his monthly broadcast. "Earth continues to exceed resource quotas. The Emperor himself has noted your adequate performance." What the Kang didn't realize was that every interaction was studied. Every piece of technology analyzed and every careless word from Imperial officers recorded. The occupation had turned all of humanity into spies. Jin worked as a maintenance technician aboard the Imperial command station orbiting Earth. His job gave him access to Kang technology, access he used to secretly scan and document everything he could. Each night he transmitted encrypted data to hidden receivers. "They're so confident they don't even watch me," Jin told his resistance contact during a rare face-to-face meeting. "Yesterday I spent 3 hours examining their communication array while pretending to fix a cooling system. They didn't question me once." Similar stories came from across Earth and throughout the solar system. Humans assigned to Imperial mining, operations in the asteroid belt, smuggled component samples. Those working in Kang administrative centers copied technical manuals. Every scrap of information made its way to Jupiter, where the UES Nemesis waited. The supercarrier had been completed 2 years earlier, but Admiral Park had resisted pressure to launch immediately. "We get one chance," she insisted during tense meetings with Resistance leadership. "The moment we reveal ourselves, the full might of the Empire will come down on Earth. We need to be ready not just to fight, but to win." The Nemesis wasn't just sitting idle. Training missions conducted in Jupiter's massive storm systems kept the crew sharp. Engineers continuously refined systems based on new intelligence about Imperial technology. Most importantly, they maintained absolute secrecy. That secrecy was becoming harder to maintain. The Kang had increased their demands for human laborers. Entire communities were being rounded up and shipped to distant worlds for work in Imperial mines and factories. "They've scheduled another transport," Park's intelligence officer reported during the morning briefing. 3,000 people from the Brisbane region, mostly engineers and technical specialists. Park studied the report. "Destination: Proxima Centauri Processing Center. From there, they'll be distributed throughout the Empire's industrial worlds." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what happened at processing centers. Humans were evaluated, categorized, and often modified with Imperial technology to make them more suitable for specific labor. Many didn't survive the procedures. Park made her decision. "We've waited long enough. The Nemesis launches tomorrow." Across Jupiter's hidden shipyard, crews prepared for the mission they had trained years for. Lieutenant Cho ran pre-flight checks on his fighter squadron, sleek craft that incorporated both human ingenuity and stolen Imperial technology. Different. From the simulators? Asked a young pilot, nervously examining her controls. Cho smiled. The real thing flies better. Remember your training and stay with your wingmate. Aboard the Nemesis, Admiral Park walked through the completed ship one final time before launch. What had once been a skeleton of hopes was now humanity's masterpiece. The quantum entanglement drive hummed with energy, ready to fold space in ways the Kang believed impossible for primitive humans. Adaptive shield harmonics would confuse Imperial targeting systems. Most importantly, the AI-integrated tactical systems would allow the Nemesis to learn and adapt during battle. Status report, Park ordered as she took her place on the bridge. All systems operational, Admiral, replied her executive officer. The crew is ready. Park nodded. Begin launch sequence. Deep within Jupiter's atmosphere, massive bay doors opened. The Nemesis rose silently, its advanced stealth systems masking its energy signature. As it cleared Jupiter's cloud cover, the quantum drive engaged. Space folded around the massive ship, and in an instant, the Nemesis vanished from the solar system. The journey to Proxima Centauri took seconds rather than years. The Nemesis reappeared on the far side of the star from the Imperial Processing Center, using the stellar mass to mask their arrival. Deploy reconnaissance drones, Park ordered. Small, stealthy craft launched from the Nemesis, transmitting detailed scans of the facility. 3 Imperial cruisers guarded the station. Significant firepower, but nothing the Supercarrier couldn't handle. Transport ship arriving in 6 hours, Tactical reported. That's our window. Park addressed the crew through the ship's communication system. For 5 years we've prepared for this moment. Today we show the Kang Empire that humanity will not go quietly into servitude. Today we begin taking back our future. The attack came with speed and precision the Empire had never encountered. Fighter squadrons launched from the Nemesis, targeting the Imperial cruisers' communication arrays first. Before the Kang could send distress signals, the Nemesis itself appeared, its main cannons firing with devastating accuracy. Imperial cruisers disabled, Tactical announced. Minimal casualties on their side, as ordered. Park nodded. Begin boarding operations. Teams of human soldiers wearing armor that combined Imperial technology with human design boarded the processing center. They moved through the facility with practiced efficiency, neutralizing Kang security forces with non-lethal weapons where possible. We're not them, Park had insisted during mission planning. We don't need to slaughter to prove our strength. The human prisoners were confused at first, many believing this was just another Imperial transfer. When they realized their rescuers were fellow humans, aboard a ship built by human hands, the mood shifted to astonishment and hope. An elderly engineer wept as he boarded the Nemesis. I never thought I'd see humans fighting back, he told Lieutenant Cho. The Kang told us Earth had fully surrendered. They lied, Cho replied, and they've underestimated us for the last time. As the last of the rescued humans boarded, Park ordered the quantum drive reactivated. The Nemesis disappeared just as Imperial reinforcements arrived, leaving behind disabled cruisers and bewildered Kang officers trying to explain how they had been defeated by primitives. The Empire's response was swift and terrible. Punitive strikes hit cities across Earth. Imperial propaganda claimed terrorists had attacked a civilian facility. But something unexpected happened. Not everyone believed the Imperial narrative anymore. For the first time in 10,000 years, cracks appeared in the foundation of Kang dominance. The silent rebellion had found its voice. The UES Nemesis hurtled through the darkness of deep space, using its revolutionary quantum fold drive to evade Imperial pursuit. With the daring rescue at Proxima Centauri, humanity had dealt its first significant blow against the Kang Empire in 5 years of occupation, but Admiral Park knew it was only the beginning. Damage report, Park commanded from the bridge, her voice steady despite the tension that hung in the air. Minor hull damage to the starboard section, reported Officer Chung. 2 injuries in engineering, but the quantum drive is stable. We can make another jump whenever you give the word. Park studied the tactical display. The Nemesis had escaped, but Earth would pay the price. Imperial reprisals had already begun. Orbital bombardments targeting major population centers. Thousands would die because of their actions today. Was it worth it? Her executive officer asked quietly, standing at her side. Park glanced at the ship's manifest showing the 3,000 rescued humans now safely aboard. Ask them, she replied. The Nemesis couldn't return to Jupiter. That hideaway was likely compromised. They needed somewhere to regroup, somewhere beyond Imperial reach. Park ordered a series of random jumps to ensure they weren't being tracked, each fold in spacetime taking them farther from Earth and deeper into the unknown. After the third jump, sensors detected something unexpected, an artificial structure floating in what should have been empty space. It wasn't Imperial design. Approach with caution, Park ordered. Shields at maximum. As they drew closer, they realized it was a space station of alien design, ancient and partially damaged. More surprising was the transmission they received in perfect human language. Unidentified vessel, this is Sanctuary Outpost. Please identify yourself. The bridge crew exchanged glances of shock. Park hesitated before responding. This is Admiral Park of the Earth vessel Nemesis. We are refugees from Kang occupation. There was a long pause before the reply came. Earth? The Kang have reached Earth now? You'd better dock immediately. Inside the station they found something none of them had expected. Aliens of various species living and working together. Their host, a tall, slender being with iridescent skin named Dal, explained their situation. We are what remains of dozens of civilizations conquered by the Kang Empire over the past several thousand years. This station exists in a dimensional pocket, what your physicists might call a fold in spacetime. It's how we've remained hidden. Park listened as Dal explained how the Kang had followed the same pattern across the galaxy for millennia. They would identify promising species, infiltrate their societies, and then subjugate them when they reached a certain technological threshold. You humans did well to develop a quantum fold drive, Dal said. Most species never manage that level of technological advancement before complete assimilation. In the station's command center, Park was introduced to representatives from other subjugated worlds. There was Tul, a reptilian being whose world had fallen 2 centuries earlier. Vex, a crystalline entity whose civilization had been mining slaves for millennia. And dozens of others, each with their own story of Kang conquest. I don't understand, Park said. If you've all been hiding here, why haven't you fought back? With what? Asked Tul. The Kang control the resources of thousands of worlds, their fleet numbers in the millions. This station is merely a sanctuary, not a military base. Park walked to the center of the room where a holographic display showed the vast expanse of the Kang Empire, multiple galaxies under the control of a single dominant species. Perhaps that's been the problem, she said thoughtfully. You've each been fighting alone, or not fighting at all. Over the following days, Park shared details of the Nemesis with the station's engineers. The Supercarrier represented something none of them had seen before: human innovation combined with stolen, Imperial technology, creating capabilities the Kang had never anticipated. Your adaptive shield harmonics are remarkable, said Vex, examining the technical specifications. And your AI tactical systems, we could adapt these to our remaining ships. What remaining ships? Park asked. Dal looked uncomfortable. We have salvaged vessels over the years, mostly for transport between hidden outposts. Nothing that could stand against an Imperial cruiser. Park smiled for the first time since leaving Earth. Perhaps not alone. The idea of a coalition formed gradually. Each species had different technologies, different strategies, different ways of thinking that the Kang had never fully appreciated. Humans brought adaptability and tactical innovation. The reptilian Tul offered advanced stealth systems. The crystalline Vex understood Imperial energy systems better than anyone. The Kang have ruled for 10,000 years because they've kept us divided, Park told the assembled representatives. Their strength isn't their technology, it's their unity. They act as one empire while treating each conquered species as separate and inferior. As word spread through the hidden network of outposts, more representatives arrived. Some brought ships, others technical expertise or strategic intelligence about Imperial movements. The more they shared, the more Park realized that the Kang weren't invincible. They had simply never faced a united opposition. "We need to strike their supply lines," Park proposed during a strategy session. "The Empire's size is both its strength and its weakness. They depend on massive logistical networks." The first coalition raid targeted an Imperial fuel depot in a remote system. 3 small ships using combined technologies, human tactical systems, Tull stealth capabilities, and Vex power modulators, disabled the depot's defenses without triggering alarms. The operation was a complete success, reported Captain Min, leader of the strike team. "We've diverted enough fuel to power the coalition fleet for months, and the Empire doesn't even know it was taken." News of the successful raid spread throughout the hidden network. More species joined, bringing their own ships and technologies. What had begun as a desperate escape had become something more, the first serious challenge to Kang dominance in 10 millennia. Emperor Do Hyun, ruler of the vast Kang Empire, was furious when reports finally reached him about the growing coalition. "How can primitive species be causing such disruption?" he demanded of his advisors. "Find this hidden base and destroy it immediately." But the coalition had learned from centuries of Imperial oppression. They never stayed in one place for long, using human quantum fold technology combined with alien dimensional shifting to remain constantly on the move. As their numbers grew, their attacks became bolder. Imperial supply convoys disappeared. Communication relays were sabotaged. Entire outposts went dark. For the first time in thousands of years, the Kang Empire found itself responding to attacks rather than initiating them. On the bridge of the Nemesis, now the flagship of the growing Liberation Coalition, Admiral Park studied reports from across the Empire. "They're pulling forces from the outer territories to protect their core worlds," she noted, "including ships from Earth's solar system." Her executive officer nodded. "The pressure is working, but they're still vastly more powerful than we are." Park looked at the tactical display showing the massive Imperial fleet gathering near the Hercules Nebula, a strategic choke point that controlled access to dozens of star systems. "We don't need to match their power," she said, a plan forming in her mind. "We just need to show the rest of the galaxy that they can be beaten." As coalition forces prepared for their most ambitious attack yet, Park addressed the combined fleet from the Nemesis. "For 10,000 years, the Kang have ruled through fear and isolation. They've convinced each of us that resistance is impossible. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we fight not just for our own worlds, but for every species that has suffered under their rule." The coalition fleet engaged their drives, disappearing into folded space. Their destination, the Hercules Nebula, where they would challenge the might of the Imperial Armada directly. As they emerged from the quantum fold, Park gave her final orders. "Remember, we fight as one. Not as humans or Tull or Vex, but as free beings who deserve to determine our own futures." The battle that would shake the foundations of a 10,000-year empire was about to begin. The Hercules Nebula stretched across space like a vast cloud of purple and blue gas, its swirling patterns hiding the coalition fleet as they prepared for battle. Aboard the UES Nemesis, Admiral Park stood at the command center, her eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the massive Imperial Armada arrayed before them. "They've positioned themselves exactly where we predicted," she said, pointing to the formation of Kang warships. "Their arrogance makes them predictable." Officer Chung looked up from his sensor readings. "Over 2,000 Imperial vessels detected. We're outnumbered almost 10 to 1, Park nodded calmly. "Numbers aren't everything." The coalition fleet consisted of just over 200 ships, the Nemesis at its center, surrounded by vessels of various designs from 24 formerly conquered species. Each had been retrofitted with technologies shared among the Alliance. What they lacked in numbers, they made up for in innovation. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said her executive officer. Park took a deep breath. "Send the signal. Operation Thunderstrike begins now." Throughout the nebula, small fighter craft launched silently. These weren't standard attack vehicles, but specialized drones developed by combining human AI systems with tool stealth technology. They carried no weapons, only advanced sensor packages designed to map Imperial defensive systems. "Drones are transmitting data," reported Officer June. "Imperial targeting systems locked into standard protocols. They haven't detected our presence yet," Park smiled. "The Kang haven't changed their defense algorithms in centuries. Why would they? No one has challenged them until now." The next phase began as Coalition engineers activated quantum mines, devices that existed partially in normal space and partially in folded space, making them invisible to Imperial scanners. The mines weren't designed to destroy ships, but to disrupt their formation by creating localized distortions in space-time. "Mines in position," confirmed Engineer Ryu. "Detonation in 3, 2, 1. Across the battlefield, space itself seemed to ripple and twist. Imperial ships suddenly found themselves pulled out of formation. Their carefully arranged battle lines disrupted as local space folded and unfolded around them. "Imperial fleet is responding," called out Tactical Officer Lin. "They're activating emergency protocols, but they're confused. Their formation is breaking apart." Park nodded. "Now, Phase 3. All ships advance." The Coalition fleet emerged from the nebula's concealment, attacking in a pattern that would have seemed chaotic to traditional military doctrine. Rather than moving as a single unit, they broke into dozens of smaller groups, each targeting specific weaknesses in the Imperial formation. On the bridge of the Imperial flagship, Emperor Do-hyun watched in growing frustration as his carefully arranged armada struggled to respond. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Why can't our ships lock onto their targets?" His tactical officer stammered. "They're using irregular attack patterns, Your Majesty. Our targeting systems are designed for conventional fleet engagements." Do-hyun slammed his fist down. "Adapt. They are primitives. They cannot defeat the might of the Kang Empire." But adaptation was exactly what the Coalition forces excelled at. While Imperial ships relied on preset battle algorithms developed over millennia of unchallenged dominance, the Coalition vessels constantly changed their tactics. Human AI systems analyzed Imperial responses in real time, identifying patterns and vulnerabilities faster than Kang commanders could react. "Imperial cruisers are firing main batteries," reported Officer Lin, as massive energy beams cut through space toward Coalition ships. "Activate adaptive shields," Park ordered calmly. The shields around Coalition vessels shimmered and shifted, their energy frequencies changing constantly to disperse the Imperial weapons fire. It wasn't perfect. Several smaller ships took damage, but the majority of the Coalition fleet remained intact. "They're targeting the Nemesis specifically," called out Officer June as a dozen Imperial battleships turned their weapons toward the human supercarrier. "They've identified us as the command vessel." Park had anticipated this. "Execute maneuver. Zeta 6. The Nemesis suddenly split into 3 identical images, a holographic deception system developed by the crystalline Vex. Imperial gunners couldn't distinguish the real ship from the projections, dividing their fire ineffectively. Hours into the battle, the Imperial armada began to show signs of disarray. Their rigid command structure wasn't designed for prolonged asymmetrical combat. When one section of their fleet took damage, they couldn't adapt without direct orders from above. "We've disabled nearly 30% of their fleet," reported Officer Lin. "But our fighters are running low on energy and 3 Coalition ships have been lost." Park studied the tactical display. This was the critical moment. They couldn't win a war of attrition against the Empire's vast resources. "It's time," she said quietly. "Begin final phase. All ships withdraw to position Alpha." Across the battlefield, Coalition vessels broke engagement and retreated toward a predetermined point at the edge of the nebula. The maneuver looked like a disorganized rout to Imperial commanders. "They're running," shouted an Imperial officer on the Emperor's bridge. "Shall we pursue and finish them?" Emperor Do-hyun's eyes narrowed with cruel satisfaction. "Of course, chase them down. Let no ship escape to tell of their failed rebellion." The Imperial fleet surged forward, abandoning their defensive posture as they pursued what they thought was a defeated enemy. They didn't notice that the Nemesis itself had seemingly vanished from the battlefield. "Imperial fleet has taken the bait," confirmed Officer Chung from the Nemesis's bridge. now positioned behind the advancing Kang ships. They've committed 90% of their forces to the pursuit. Park nodded grimly. Activate quantum fold drive. Space twisted around the Nemesis as it executed its most daring maneuver yet. A short-range quantum fold that placed it directly behind the Emperor's flagship. Before Imperial sensors could register their presence, the Nemesis fired its main. Weapons not at the ship itself but at its engines and communication array. The Emperor's vessel drifted powerless, cut off from the rest of the fleet. At the same time, the retreating coalition forces suddenly turned and attacked, catching the pursuing Imperial ships in a massive crossfire. Imperial flagship disabled, reported Officer Lin with barely contained excitement. Their fleet command structure is collapsing. Without direct control from the Emperor's vessel, the Imperial battle plan disintegrated. Individual ship commanders, unused to making independent decisions, gave contradictory orders. Some vessels continued to attack, others attempted to protect the Emperor's ship, while others began to retreat. "We've done it," breathed Park's executive officer. "They're breaking formation completely." Park shook her head. "Not yet. Hail the Emperor's ship." On the main view screen, Emperor Do-hyun appeared, his face a mask of rage and disbelief. "How dare you?" he seethed. "Do you know what you've done?" "Yes," Park replied calmly. "We've shown the galaxy that the Kang aren't invincible, that after 10,000 years of tyranny, your empire can be defeated by the very species you thought inferior." She gestured to the tactical display showing the remnants of the once mighty Imperial armada now in full retreat. "This is just the beginning," Park continued. "Today, the Hercules Nebula. Tomorrow, we free every world under Kang control." As news of the battle spread across the Empire's communication networks, something unprecedented happened on 1,000 subjugated worlds. People looked to the stars not with fear, but with hope. The Battle of the Hercules Nebula had changed everything. 10,000 years of Kang dominance had been broken in a single day by the courage, innovation, and unity of those they had oppressed. The path to freedom had been opened. News of the Imperial defeat at the Hercules Nebula spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The Kang had carefully controlled all communication networks for millennia, but they couldn't contain this story. On planet after planet, the oppressed heard whispers of how a coalition of former slaves had defeated the Emperor's finest fleet. "They say humans led the attack," a young tool worker murmured to his companions in the mines of Zeta 9, a species the Empire only conquered 5 years ago. His supervisor, an older tool who had known nothing but Imperial rule, shook his head. "Impossible. No one defeats the Kang." But the whispers continued, growing louder with each passing day. Aboard the Nemesis, Admiral Park reviewed reports from across known space. The victory at Hercules had been decisive, but it was only the beginning. Uprisings reported on 17 worlds in the Outer Rim, Officer June announced. Imperial forces are spread thin trying to maintain control. The coalition fleet had grown substantially since the battle. Ships that had once served the Empire now flew under the banner of liberation. Crews who had been conscripted to fight for their oppressors now turned their weapons against them. "The time has come to take the fight directly to them," Park told. The Coalition Leadership Council. Representatives from 28 species nodded in agreement. "We strike at the heart of the Empire, Kang Prime itself." The plan was audacious. While the Coalition fleet engaged Imperial defenses in the Kang home system, smaller teams would infiltrate the capital city and capture the Imperial Council, the 12 administrators who governed alongside Emperor Do-hyun. "This isn't about revenge," Park emphasized. "This is about freedom, for all of us." 3 weeks later, the Coalition fleet emerged from quantum fold space on the outskirts of the Kang system. Imperial defenses were formidable: orbital platforms, defense satellites, and hundreds of warships. But they were also predictable, designed to repel conventional attacks. The Coalition was anything but conventional. "Begin electronic warfare," Park ordered. Throughout the system, Coalition ships broadcast signals on frequencies the Empire had used for official communications for centuries. The signals carried simple messages in every language of the oppressed worlds. The Empire has fallen. Lay down your weapons. Join the liberation. Confusion spread through Imperial ranks. Some ships maintained position, others moved to attack, while a surprising number simply powered down their weapons. It's working, Officer Lin reported. 20% of Imperial vessels are standing down. Park nodded. Launch Phase 2. Across the system, smaller coalition ships targeted Imperial communication hubs. They didn't destroy them. Instead, they seized control, broadcasting images of the Battle of Hercules Nebula, showing Imperial ships retreating in disarray. On Kang Prime itself, civilians gathered in public squares watching in disbelief as the mythology of Imperial invincibility crumbled before their eyes. How do we know these images are real? One Kang official demanded. His question was answered. As the Nemesis appeared in orbit above the capital city, its quantum fold drive allowing it to bypass the outer defense perimeter entirely. This is Admiral Park of the Liberation Coalition. Her voice echoed across Imperial broadcasts. We come not to destroy, but to end 10,000 years of oppression. The choice is yours. Continue fighting for a fallen empire, or help build a new future where all species determine their own destiny. In the Imperial Palace, chaos reigned. Emperor Do-hyun, rescued after the Battle of Hercules, raged at his advisors. Launch everything we have. Destroy them all, he screamed, his composure shattered by the unprecedented challenge to his authority. But the Imperial Guard, seeing coalition forces landing across the city meeting minimal resistance, made their decision. The Emperor was placed under arrest by his own protectors. We serve the Kang people, the Guard commander told him. This war is lost. We will not sacrifice our world for your pride. As Imperial resistance collapsed across the system, coalition forces secured key government facilities. There was surprisingly little violence. Many Kang civilians, having seen the images of defeat, chose pragmatism over futile loyalty to a failing regime. Park herself led the delegation that entered the Imperial Council chamber. The 12 administrators, the true bureaucratic power behind the throne, waited nervously. What are your terms? Asked the chief administrator, a Kang official who had overseen the subjugation of countless worlds. Park placed a data tablet on the grand table. Immediate liberation of all worlds under Imperial control, war crimes tribunals for those who ordered atrocities, reparations to rebuild devastated planets. The administrators exchanged glances. One scoffed, and if we refuse? Officer Lin gestured to the windows where coalition ships could be seen across the capital skyline. Then we let the billions of beings you've oppressed for millennia decide your fate. The surrender was signed within hours. In the days that followed, Park walked through the Imperial archives, a vast repository of knowledge gathered from thousands of conquered civilizations. So much history, so much culture that had been suppressed or stolen. What will happen to all of this? Asked Engineer Ryu as they surveyed the massive collection. It goes back to its rightful owners, Park replied. Everything the Empire took will be returned. But the coalition leadership soon faced a new challenge. What would replace the Empire? Some argued for complete independence for each world, others for a loose alliance of free planets. It was a former Imperial scholar, a Kang woman named Lin Ju, who had secretly documented Imperial atrocities for decades, who proposed the solution. The Empire's strength was its unity. Its fatal flaw was its hierarchy, she told the Coalition Council. Why not create a federation based on equality instead? Not to rule worlds, but to connect them. The idea resonated. A galactic federation with representatives from all worlds, where decisions would be made by consensus rather than decree. Where each species would govern itself but contribute to the common good. 3 months after the fall of Kang Prime, representatives from over 500 formerly subjugated worlds gathered on Earth for the Federation's founding ceremony. The location was symbolic. The newest world to fall to the Empire had become the birthplace of a new galactic order. Admiral Park, now appointed as humanity's first representative to the Federation Council, addressed the historic gathering. 10,000 years ago, the Kang began building an empire based on the belief that some beings are destined to rule, while others are meant to serve. Today we reject that idea completely. She gestured to the diverse assembly, beings of all shapes, sizes, and evolutionary backgrounds united by their shared experience of oppression and their commitment to prevent its return. Our differences are our strength. The empire fell because it couldn't imagine species they considered primitive, working together, sharing ideas, combining technologies in ways they never anticipated. Behind her stood the UES Nemesis, now transformed into a monument. The supercarrier that had struck the first decisive blow against the empire would serve as a reminder of what unity and innovation could accomplish. We build this federation not on conquest but on cooperation, not on fear but on hope. The stars belong to all of us, and together we will create a future worthy of everyone's dreams. As the Federation Charter was signed, celebrations erupted across thousands of worlds. Species that had known nothing but imperial rule for countless generations looked to the skies with new eyes. The irony wasn't lost on Park, the Empire's greatest mistake had been underestimating the very species they had conquered. In their arrogance, they had collected the seeds of their own destruction, bringing together the diverse peoples who would ultimately unite against them. 10,000 years of dominance had ended. A new age of freedom had begun,